This is Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert, and I'm Meredith. Here we explore the nuanced, less obvious, and paradoxical aspects of society. I like to say a bear is okay, a tricycle is cool, but a bear on a tricycle? Now that's interesting. Add a dash of taboo, and we're there. These are the conversations you thought you'd never get to have. Each episode is different, so bring your ADD and your earbuds and have a look around. This week's episode is a bear on a tricycle. She's a con woman, but one that gets paid to do it professionally. She calls herself a people hacker. And in our conversation, you'll hear the hysterical stories of her first con, her favorite break-in, and some strange requests she's received. You'll also hear how to think like a thief, the biggest security mistake we're all making, tech she would recommend, and tech she would avoid, and also her take on Anna Sorokin, that fake German heiress lady featured on Netflix. Last week was pretty heavy, so I thought you'd all enjoy this remastered episode. Her book detailing her hilarious break-ins is now out on Amazon, so be sure to pick up a copy. The link is in the episode description. And if you end up liking this episode, you'll also like the one I did with a cyber psychologist about digital graves and where our data goes when we die. It's episode 175. And lastly, if you've enjoyed a couple episodes of the show, hit the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss out on a new episode. All right, friends, keep it curious. My next guest grew up in a working class family in Liverpool, where in the 80s, there was a lot of crime and unemployment. She was a trusting kid, but at the age of 7, she was kidnapped, and quick thinking got her out safely, and she vowed never to be that vulnerable again. Part of increasing her street smarts included hanging out with some older cousins who had the habit of breaking into places. Years of practice gave her a specific set of skills that led to an unusual side hustle: paid security breaches. Now she's the CEO of Human Factor Security, a security assessment and penetration testing firm. Today, she's going to share her unique perspective and how we can all become a little less vulnerable. Professional cat burglar, award-winning podcast host, people hacker, Jenny Radcliffe. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Meredith. You've really done your research. Listen to that intro.
Okay.
Excellent.
Here's what I don't know. So you're on an airplane, right? And you sit down, you get all cozy, and the talkative American next to you goes, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm so curious, Jenny. What do you say to them?
Oh, God, it's a nightmare, right? And old ladies on trains as well. Old ladies on trains. "Hi, what do you do?" Oh, so I kind of swore that I'd start to say I sold like windows or something, because so you say, "Oh, I'm a security consultant." Oh, what does that mean? Well, and I know they think I work at like a mall or like at a bar, you know. And I go, "Oh," so usually I say, "Whatever you have in your mind right now, it's the other kind of security." And they go, "Well, what is that?" "Oh, that's so interesting." Oh, so I go, "Look, I do spend a lot of time avoiding saying the word burglar.
Right.
Because it leads us down this whole path where the explanation is huge. But I say I'm a security consultant. I specialize in the psychology of scams and cons. And then I have to judge whether the person can take it, you know, whether they've got a sense of humor."
Wait, so you people hack the person that you're talking to see if they can handle it?
Well, I'm reading people all the time, right? So I'm reading all the time. And if I think they've got a sense of humor, I will say my official title would be a physical penetration tester, at which point they either laugh and go, "Oh my God," or I say, "Oh, it's a silly term. I break security systems." Yeah. So I suppose if I had to summarize it, I am a security consultant. I do everything I do on the side of the angels. But I specialize in the psychology of cons. So I'm a professional con artist. And I specialize in physically breaking security systems, but not with tech, generally just by persuading, talking my way in, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of it, because when people think about breaking security systems, we all go to like the tech part of it, the hacking or the DDoS attack and the cyber stuff. But your title is people hacker. So obviously hacking people it still works because you are very successful at what you do.
Well, the thing is, if you say people hacker right out the gate, people assume that, I've had people think, oh, that sounds like you're a murderer. No. And then even if you just say, look, I'm a type of hacker, they look at me like, wow, you're not in a black hoodie and you seem to have sort of passable social skills. How can you be a hacker? And it's just stereotypes, I've got friends. I don't just sit my own in a basement with computers.
I shower sometimes.
I shower occasionally, but most hackers do that. That's just a stereotype. So, yeah, a journalist a long time ago said, oh, you're sort of a people hacker. And I thought that's really good. So I started to use it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it fits. So after you started hanging out with your cousins and you did all these unpaid jobs, like there's a lot of them that you've done. If you and your cousins were to get together tonight, which story would you reminisce over a pint with?
No, darling, I don't drink pints anymore.
Oh, okay.
No, okay. So, the one that I always sort of think the most of with the cousins was definitely the funeral home. So, there was this funeral home parlor, I don't know what you call it, near where I lived, and I would have been about 14 by then. So we'd done a few things, as you mentioned. I was kind of kidnapped, and that was bad. And then not long after that, I had to fight my way out of I was sort of surrounded by a load of bullies in an alleyway, and I kind of really, really did hurt one of the bullies quite badly. He deserved it. And then we kind of looked at these places, and we got in our head, we wanted to see a body, which, like, Stand By Me, right? And teenagers think that, and they actually don't need to see that, okay? And there was this big place near where I lived, and we thought we'd sneak in. And there was like a hatch that came up, and the trucks came in and out. When I think about it, it's so disrespectful. And the trucks came in and out, and we thought it would be easy to kind of sneak in and see the body and sneak out again. And I went in with we managed to sneak in just fine. That was fine. And we sort of, and the doors locked behind us. So now, if you can imagine, we're in this huge old-fashioned sort of funeral home in the middle of the night. The doors are locked. And we start to walk through, and I immediately felt, this is really disrespectful. I shouldn't be here. Like, this is horrible. What are we doing? But my cousins, who were older boys than I was, said to me, no, you've selected this target, right? This is your con. This is your job. We're going to go and see. We're here. We might as well try and see the body. And I brought this random kid from the neighborhood with me.
What?
Just because I'd been hanging out with him, and then kind of he was a bit weird, and I thought he needed friends, and I let him come, and I think about it now. And so we got to the kind of
That's a bad
area.
first date. Can I just say that's a bad first date?
Right? And he was kind of freaking out a little bit, but he was way too excited. And actually, even now I do professionally, one of the ways I can test whether someone is going to be good on a crew for any kind of heist or con is how excited they get. Like, you can't like it too much, right? You have to treat it like a job. And this kid's sort of going, I can see his face. It's like, yes, we're here. So I said to my cousin, okay, all right, we'll just go and we'll see if you can see it, and then we'll leave. And it's like, where is it? And it was clearly signed, the room with like morgue. So we get to the door, and we pushed the door, and the door opened just fine, and we went in, and it was like a huge sort of U-shaped room, kind of like a giant sink, right? Obviously, because that's what it is, right? There's drains in the floor and all this, and it just was like, this is old school stuff. And in the middle of this room, there's just a body on a table covered with a piece of canvas, clearly a body, though, body shape. And this kid who we brought with us, Meredith, starts going, it's not meant to be like that. I've seen it on telly. They're meant to be in a big fridge.
Oh.
And it was like, I was like, no, don't touch it. And my cousin just grabbed this canvas, pulled it off. And they're just this naked dead guy. And we all start screaming. And I just was like, oh my God. Scream, run to the door. And the door was shut. And we couldn't get out. And
you were locked in?
It shut and locked us in.
Oh, no.
And we were locked in for a long time, hours and hours, with just naked dead guy. Kid from the hood sort of saying over and over again, I've seen it on the TV. It's not meant to be like that. I'm like, shut up. We've got to try and get out. Couldn't get out. The windows were really high and there was nothing to get out. And then we heard the van come back. So they were coming back. And my eldest cousin says, as soon as he opens that door, you have to run out and you have to make a lot of noise and run past him. Because the only thing that we can do to get out is surprise. So he's not going to be expecting a bunch of kids to be in this part of the building. And so the poor man.
Oh my gosh.
We were all waiting and he opens the door and we went, and ran out and kept running and ran through the hatch and ran in the street. I think that kid is still running now. 40 or maybe 35 years later, he's still running.
In between his telehealth therapy sessions with his counselor, he's running and then he's got the phone and he's like,
on the TV, they were in a fridge. Just kept saying it. And and that was the one that we always, because I felt really bad after that for the poor guy. I mean, that was disrespectful and so on. But I learned so many lessons about the job. I learned that you have to make sure that people are up to the job before you take them. They can't be too excited. And also that if you're leading a crew on any kind of heist or con, you're leading that crew. And that was really a big lesson that the cousins gave me, was that if you choose the target and you put us together and you decide when, it's your responsibility, and I took that through into doing it professionally, I guess.
You learned a lot from your cousins and you had a lot of close calls, but it always seemed to work out. I'm curious if you were ever approached by, I don't know, I just feel like a kid who breaks in successfully and is willing to do it for money is ripe for mob recruitment. Were you ever groomed for anything like that? Approached?
Well, I mean, we did lots of silly things, and a lot of the stuff we did early doors was very borderline, wrong, I guess. I think I didn't ask as many questions as I should have asked early in my career. So there were times when I definitely wasn't certain of the client, but it was usually word of mouth. So if I didn't know them, I'd know people who did, and I'd kind of ask. But very early on, I decided that I wasn't going to, I didn't sort of decide that I wasn't going to do anything, like consciously, but it was quite clear that I wasn't going to commit crime, right? I didn't want to do that. So it was, every time I did a job, I did think that the people, this sounds terrible, the people I was robbing had paid me to do it because they wanted me to test security. I always thought that, although I didn't ask the right questions, I think a lot at the beginning. But no, I think that, fundamentally, I always thought I was doing the right thing. So when you give off that vibe, I think people, they might try and get you to do things, but they don't come out and overtly say, can you do this? I mean, people contact me now all the time and ask me to do things that are dodgy. Can you please hack into my ex's account? I'm not that type of hacker. Do you think my girlfriend is lying to me? Probably, as soon as you're asking the question. But I tend not to take that stuff on, because I don't know both sides. So I don't know who's right and who's wrong, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't do domestic jobs. Not really. So they're the ones that go wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you avoided all that through learning to ask the right questions. But what was your first paid job?
The first paid job, I was at college. You guys had said college. I was at university, and I got a call to the house. And it was just this guy who knew a lot about me. I assumed he was police or former police. And he asked me to go and steal a diary from a desk in a big office in the city I lived in, local government. I said to myself, I'll call the boys, see if they're free. And he said, do you think you need them? I thought, actually, it's probably quieter without them. It was quieter without the boys. And I thought, well, no, but I still told them and they said it was fine. They weren't interested. I mean, the cousins kind of went the wrong way, And they asked me to go and steal a diary from this guy's desk. And it was one of those old, it was Filofax type thing. It was, I'm old.
You were not that old, but
and it was like, yeah, of course, why not? Why would you ask? Why would you not go? Of course. Why you asked me to steal a diary from a local kind of MP, which is the equivalent, I guess, of a senator in the US.
Oh, okay.
Why would? Of course.
Yeah, that doesn't seem sketchy at all.
No. And that was the one, and it was big money. He was offering me a lot of money compared to what I was making as I did waitressing, and and I was still running cons all over my city at the time with the boys, but they were very minor. So let me tell you what this is for your lovely audience. So you don't all think I'm a bad person. I spent my whole life working for the good guys, just so you know. But whenever I'm interviewed, people want to know this other stuff, right? So for example, cousins went on and they started doing security on bars, on the doorman, right. Bouncers, we call them in the UK.
Yeah, we call them that here too. So yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't know, because I based my knowledge of that off Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and I assume they're called coolers, which I've literally only heard in that movie, but I don't know, right? I don't know. So anyway, moving swiftly on. So they'd say to me things like, go and sell a load of tickets. There's at first they did this without me knowing. There's a nightclub, brand new nightclub. Go and sell tickets for the VIP area. They get a drink and they get to meet all the VIPs. And it's a special VIP pass. So I'd go and I'd sell them. And I was good at sales because I was always interested in what made people tick. So if there was a bunch of women on a night out, I'd say, you get to meet all the soccer players. They all drink in this new club. And if I made boys, I'd say, I've just sold a bunch of tickets to a load of hot women.
Smart.
And I told them that they meet all the soccer players, but actually they're not there. So they'll be looking for a guy and you'll be there. And I used to say, and I'd sell maybe 300 tickets at £10 a go. And we had again, going back. And then there wouldn't even be a bar, never mind a VIP.
Oh my gosh. What was it, like a parking lot?
It just was like there was a bar, but it wasn't they'd turn up and it'd have a name on it and everything, and the actual people who worked there'd be like, what are you talking about? There's no VIP area, there's no event, you don't have to pay to get in, and they'd all be stood there with these fake tickets. Sorry, anyone in Liverpool in the 80s who I did that too. But the first time I didn't know, and then afterwards, we kind of moved around a bit and did it a few places. So I was doing that type of thing, that low level. And just to say, I've contributed at least 10 times the amount that I stole off people to charity.
Well, that, I'm sure, balances out the karma.
Balance the whole thing out.
Right.
And they kind of knew, But, yeah, so I was kind of still doing that type of thing, but they were paying a lot of money. And one of the things I say about crime is that, working class areas, clever kids, if you don't have a lot of money, you learn to improvise, you learn to kind of, I suppose, get by on your own, survive. And we dream these things up sometimes overnight because we were bored and smart. Yeah, that type of thing.
That type of thing, exactly. I found it surprising that you had regular jobs and that you were doing these B&Es. You mentioned word of mouth. Is that the only way clients found you? Because, you would fly to other countries and clients would somehow find you. And wasn't there one that followed you? He knew where you were, and so he was always one step behind you?
He still is.
Really?
I still do.
Tell us about that, because it's so spooky and fun.
Well, spooky with a capital S.
Yes, it is spooky.
So you couldn't declare, and it's still difficult. Your opening question: what do you tell people on a plane?
Right.
Well, now with the internet and everything, people kind of are more aware of hackers, and you can kind of explain. But back then, I mean, I've been doing this job. So if you count the first time I ever consciously knew we were breaking into someone, I've been doing this job for 40 years. And so it's pre-internet, right? So, I mean, you kind of don't say what you do. I mean, I never said that I did it because I thought, A, it was illegal. B, the people who actually I work for officially would have fired me. And also my family would have worried and my kind of partner would have worried, my husband. So I sort of didn't really say what I did. So I needed to make a living in a legitimate way. And I did that through various very grown-up responsible positions for Fortune 500 companies. I mean, I was really, doing quite well. I had whole teams of people and I just separated the two things. But I'd never stopped working. So that was how I earned my living, but working the actual security always was sort of ongoing. And I made a few connections who clearly worked in a capacity where they could place anyone, more or less, in the world anywhere. So these would be the type of people, probably intelligence services, certainly law enforcement in some capacity. And I was just useful because I had these skills and I was moving around. So there was a time I was in Brussels and I ordered this meal and I didn't realize, but I'd walked into like this fabulous, very expensive restaurant and someone got the check. And then they said, oh, and the check, and I'd ordered wine and I'd obviously ordered a bad wine. And so then it was replaced with a more expensive. I was like, oh no, I didn't order this. And they said, no. And they said my contact's name, which I'll say in the book, which I've made up in the book, obviously. It's not his real name. Says enjoy the wine. And next time order a better wine.
Interesting.
And it was always knew where I was. And so what happened was I'd be going on some business trip or some conference, or I'd be doing negotiations, or I'd be doing, X, Y, Z, all over Europe, then America and Asia, particularly Asia. And I'd just occasionally get a call to the hotel. I didn't even have a cell then, but a call or a message would get to me and say, do you want to, are you available to do this? And I mean, that time in Brussels, I mean, something went down after the meal that was dangerous and probably illegal. And that it was not the plan. So, yeah, I think I was usefully mobile.
Yes, yeah. I would agree. And you have said once that part of how you were able to hack into buildings was just because people didn't suspect you. You were unsuspecting, and partially because you're probably good at mirroring and being friendly and being disarming, but also partly you've said because you're a woman. Have you found that the 80s to now, that advantage has decreased now that women are in a more larger variety of roles?
But I'm very careful how I phrase that because if the security team are women, then they are less trusting than if the security of a woman than the men might be, right? Because women, but it's not because I'm like super stunning or anything like that. I just don't look very dangerous. And even when, I mean, I've had people joke with me about, oh, you're not a burglar, are you? whilst I was burglarizing the property, we'd hate there to be a thief in here. I went, well, I believe they're everywhere. It's horrendous. It's horrendous, Carol.
Carol.
But again, just to point out to your lovely audience that I don't steal for real. They get it back, and it's all done to protect them. Because if I can do it, the bad guys can do it. That's the point. But we film it and show them the weak points. But yes, I mean, I think what it is, if you are confident and you don't fit the archetypal, that stereotypical criminal or hacker, then people underestimate you. And certainly as a woman, I've been underestimated, as most women are at some point. And so I always say, this is fine. That's fine. You carry on underestimating me, because that's how I get into your premises.
Hey, Curiositors, just a quick pause to show gratitude to our sponsors and give you some special deals. It's that time of year for front porch pumpkins and football barbecues, but here in the southern U.S., mosquitoes can still be an unwanted part of the equation. I've been using Insect's mosquito service since 2019, and I love that they guarantee their work. And pollinators are always top of mind. Don't wait to get on their schedule. If you're in the Florida Panhandle or the Gulf Coast of Alabama, give Insect a call, ensec.net. Don't pick another boring venue for your next work event. Check out one of the Pensacola Historic Trust's 12 museums. If you watch the show on YouTube, you see the beautiful backdrop of Trader John's, the exhibit where I record the show inside the Pensacola Museum of History. Booking an event with the Trust will not just be memorable for your guests, it will support the efforts to keep Pensacola's historic charm preserved. And if you're planning a trip here and need an indoor activity option, pick up a ticket in person so you can show the agent one of my emails and get $2 off an adult ticket. Learn more at historicpensacola.org. Now back to the show. Remember to stay till the end where I give you a sneak peek of next week's episode.
Yes.
I imagine people watching is very different with you. I would love to sit with you in an airport one day and just record your, dialogue to yourself about what people are up to and even maybe their vulnerabilities that they open themselves up to in the public, not digitally, but in the physical world. Do you see common mistakes are there a lot of common mistakes people make? And if there are, let us know so we can avoid them, obviously.
I mean, God. So people reveal too much. People drink and reveal too much. People start chatting to nice people in the business lounge and say silly things, or they have conversations about business where someone could be listening, or they say, "I'm just nipping to the bathroom. Can you keep an eye on my laptop?"
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, what's an example of what people say? I grew up in middle America and I live in the American South. Both places, we are super chatty and we over disclose. It's just a thing. So give us some examples of things that people disclose too much when they're drinking at a bar.
I think these days it's more what they disclose on social media than at a bar.
Okay.
At a bar, people say, everything really, whether they're miserable, and usually people are miserable. They hate their job or they hate their bar. There's always some. I mean, I'd swear it's an English swear word, right? There's always some. Let's say something nice. There's always a moron who you work with or for that you have at one time or another wished would either win the lottery and quit or be assassinated and quit.
Yeah.
And if you can't think of that person, every single person listening to this has got a name or a face right now in their head that is that person for them. If you don't, you are the person everyone you work with is thinking of. It's true. And so people will tell you they'll tell you problems and things. And that could be used by a con artist. I mean, see, con artists, there's amateurs who will just be opportunistic. And they'll be the people who would steal someone's phone or wallet because we're careless in bars or on train or whatever. But I don't see them on the same level because ours is always a much more planned, considered operation, although within it there's opportunism and we use that. But I think what I'd say is people overshare now on social media, and that's much more dangerous. So people say every review that you put of a restaurant. We had one client who said, so I always eat here whenever, let's say it's Florida, just because that's where you are. Whenever I'm in this part of Florida, I always eat at this restaurant with my boyfriend and we both have the steak and it's great. And then we just walk back to our hotel and watch the sunset. And you just like, stop. Because it's like, I don't need to know everything about you. And if we start talking about some of the social media apps, we can see, what people like, what people don't like, the charities they support, what frightens them, what motivates them to get out of bed in the morning, who they like, who they hate.
Have you ever used the information that you've gathered digitally to conduct a physical securities breach?
So all of our physical security breaches start with reconnaissance. We look at the company or the target from a point of view of like a funnel. So the way I describe it's like a funnel. So we look at the meta environment. Where are they based? How big are they? How many people work for them? What kind of plans, what histories happened to them, recent history? Is there investment? Is there diversification? How's that company work? And then I narrow it to the site itself. So what can we find out about the site? So are there photographs on their corporate site? And in the background, is it showing me their alarm system, lists of employees? One company, so company ABC Limited, ABC's football team, ladies football team, meets every Tuesday at... And, stop it. Because what we're looking for as social engineers is a way in. Okay, everyone who works from an organization has a piece of information that we can use to build up a jigsaw. We're going to build a picture of what that company does and a potential way in. And we only need what it is you can collect a load of data, a load of information, and you start to build this story, and then something will just present itself, and that'll be the thing that lets you in. There's a story that I tell that you've probably heard, which we did all of this for this target, and the guy had said to me, I know you're good, which is always a great way to start. Right. I know you're good at this, but you'll never get in because we've spent £2 million on the fence. So they put this huge perimeter system in, and there were shenanigans for us to get inside the fence. But he said, you will not get into the factory itself unless someone leaves the door open for you. And that's not going to happen, right? Now, through our reconnaissance, through looking online, and we'd sort of isolated what the company was like and what their culture was like and what the people within the company were like. And we'd established that they were very rule-driven. So if the boss in that company was the boss, and if your boss was God and everyone did what they were told, and it was partly to do with what they produced, which was very safety critical. So through various means, I get inside the actual fence, and now I've just got to get into the building. And the reconnaissance showed that they did what they were told. So we just wrote on a piece of paper, please do not close this door, with a Sharpie, and we just stuck it with tack to the outside of one of the doors. We actually stuck it on a few doors, but the one that worked was the one we saw I was near. And of course the guy comes out, lovely guy, comes out and sees the sign on the door and thinks, oh God, oh shit, someone's closed the door and there's clearly a sign saying leave it open. And he wedged it open, and of course then I can go straight in. And there was dozens of people walk past that open door. Nobody closes it for two reasons. One, there's a sign saying don't close it, so why would you do that? And number two, because it's not their problem. And this is what you have to get across to people is you don't have to have security in your job title for it to be your problem. Social engineering, which is what my job is, right? That's the official title, is the manipulation of people to gain access to unauthorized areas, data, information, money. And it uses individuals to get to bigger targets. So it might be the receptionist I can talk my way past who lets me in the building. It might be someone sharing a password on a forum to a colleague, or writing it on a Post-it note, and then it's in the background. There's got a Post-it note with their password, their passport and bank statement in the back of a picture that they've taken saying first day in work or team meeting. It's those things. So because we're all a potential sort of step on the ladder into a business, we have to all protect ourselves individually as well. So just think, what am I posting? What's in the background? And does it reveal more about me than I think?
And the stories that you're telling are good examples of why that matters, because I think the temptation is for people to say, well, I'm not that important. Who would want to come after me? Or, good luck getting into my bank account. You'll just be disappointed. But there's other bigger plots that could be at work here. And speaking of plots, I would like to know your opinion or impression of the Tinder swindler and the Anna Sorokin cases. Have you kept up with those?
So I have particular interest in Anna Sorokin.
I bet you do.
Because I've been asked about it like quite a lot, and I see no talent here.
Oh, okay. Tell us why.
What I just see a liar, you know? She's a liar and a thief. That's what she is. I don't see any strategy. I don't see any real end game at all. That's just, and you know, this is where you feel like there's this moment in the film Gone in 60 Seconds where they're doing this elaborate grand theft auto, and this kid just puts a gun in one of the face and goes, "Give me the car." And he goes, What? That's not how you do it. This is vulgar, but you need a role model. And I just look at this and I think, you know, this was just, she just lied. And anyone can lie. And if you've got a little bit of confidence and you're a little bit mysterious, it'll go so far. And you'll hurt people and you'll take their money and their identity and privacy and everything else. That's not a strategy. That's not a con artist. That is a liar who managed to get, you know, a certain amount of the way before she was arrested, quite rightly, and will probably be deported from the US.
I heard so, you know, I can't.
Yeah, and good riddance. I really, for all we're joking about this, my whole career is about stopping people like that, because it's not just the money that they steal, it's people's self-confidence, it's their faith in their own judgment. It's a very damaging crime. So no, I don't see any judgment. I just see a greedy thief, and good luck, good riddance to her.
And the Tinder swindler, have you kept up with that at all?
Not really, because I've been asked so much about this. What I would say, I haven't really kept up with the show, but obviously I'm aware of the premise. Yeah. What it does illustrate very well is the fact that when our emotion is high, our judgment is low. Okay, so what every con artist will always try and do is raise your emotion, whether we frighten you because you've got a parking ticket or you've got a speeding ticket that needs paying right now, or whether we try and shame. And I say we, I mean, I'm not the bad guys, but they might try and shame you. You know, we can see that you've been on adult websites, or we can pretend that you have, and who's going to believe you? Or whether it's something as nice or potentially life-affirming as romance or hope. And what they do is they get the emotion high so that it's very difficult for our judgment to kick in and say, think about this, take a step back. Is this real? Listen to friends and family. Okay. And romance fraud is amongst the cruelest, because it preys on people's loneliness. It preys on people's expectations of life. And I'm always being interviewed about it over here and globally, really. And what I'd say is I've avoided watching it for a while, because there's quite a lot of, I don't know if you noticed, but there's fraudsters are rock stars at the moment. They're everywhere. Netflix, etc., is full of these shows. And I need to really sit and observe it properly, probably before I get to the States in the next couple of days. But that's what I'd say about romance fraud.
No, those are great
And again,
insights.
Horrible.
Yeah, they are. They're heartbreaking. Well, as we wrap up, I have a couple just for fun questions.
Okie doke.
You ready? So the first one is, you're in charge of airport security. What do you change?
What? Could we just keep our shoes on?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that actually really helps. I actually know the person who kind of made that a thing after the shoe bomber. Mm-hmm. And whilst I never complain when I'm going through there, because there are lunatics trying to blow us all out of the sky, I have heard from people who would know that actually doesn't protect us that much. So maybe if we could stop that being a thing, in some way prevent bad people using our shoes as a weapon, that would be great for me. Yeah.
Fitness trackers and doorbell ring cameras, yay or nay?
Doorbell cameras, absolutely. They help. Fitness trackers, no, I can track where you are. We actually intercepted somebody who was being stalked. A young lady who was an influencer. She was being stalked by a fixated individual. And we actually got in the way. We had to involve law enforcement. He was waiting for her because she kept tracking her route. Don't do it. Not use them, but make sure it's anonymous.
Do you take any digital precautions that most people think are overboard?
Yes, all of them. People think I'm paranoid, but I'm just professionally suspicious.
That's my favorite right there. Professionally suspicious. I'm professionally curious and you're professionally suspicious. What a weird pair we are.
I hesitate to give my address when I order pizza, just in case. I mean, that's how bad it gets.
Oh, wow.
That's a joke. It's a joke.
Okay. I thought you were being serious.
Of course I eat pizza.
I was like, you have your pizza delivered to a P.O. box? What?
But it probably won't even be my real name.
Well, any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
So I would just say that I love chatting to you. What a fun show you've got, and I actually love the US. I know you guys about all of this stuff. I'll be over very soon. I'm actually over in a couple of days from when we record this. I'm back over again before the summer. And the thing I love the most about everyone in America is the optimism and the idea that anything's achievable. That's what happens when you're top of the shop. Anything's achievable. You just have to throw work and time and resources at it. And I kind of love that. And I think that's the approach we need in security and probably in the world. So, yeah, big shout out to the US. And also, don't forget, or if you like those stories, Meredith told me I need to stop being British and promote myself. So here we go.
Yeah, put on your most braggadocious American pants right now.
Okay. If you like those stories and you'd like to hear more about them, I do have a podcast called Human Factor Security Podcast where I interview interesting people about these things. But I am halfway through my autobiography, which will be released in 2023. And I will tell all of those stories and a lot more stories. So follow me at humanfactorsecurity.co.uk or online as The People Hacker. And I will shout about it a lot on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else when it's due out. So
perfect. Well, we look forward to hearing that. That'll be amazing.
Oh, well, no, it's been lovely to talk to you.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, you'll also like the one I did with a cyber psychologist about digital graves and where our data goes when we die. It's episode 175. And, they say word of mouth is still the best way for a podcast to grow. So since you made it this far, now's a great time to take a screenshot and share about it on social media. Be sure to tag me. I'm at Meredith for Real. Stay tuned next week when I talk with a psychologist who's also a swinger as we ask the question, what are the rules of monogamy?